Hi everyone, this is Teacher Jen from camgush.com and welcome to Essential Grammar in Use book by Raymond Murphy. Today, we will continue our lesson on Unit 31. It's about the words must not, and don't need to. If you can still remember, on our previous video or lesson, we already talked about the word must. So today, we will talk about must not. So let's begin our discussion now. Now, the word must not, mustn't. For the construction or contraction, we use must not to say that something is not permitted or allowed. For example, passengers must not talk to the driver. Passengers must not talk to the driver. So as you can see, we used must not here. That means the subject is not allowed or permitted to do this action with the driver. Okay? Now, how do we make sentences using the words must not? This is the structure of must not. Must is an auxiliary verb. It is followed by a main verb. This is the structure. Just the same with the word must, which is a positive sentence. For the negative sentence, it's just the same. We just have to add the word not. Subject, must not, and then the main verb. Subject, must not, and then the main verb. Let's have some examples here. We have the subject, auxiliary verb must, plus the word not, and then the main verb. Let's read them. I mustn't forget my keys. I must not forget my keys. I, the subject, must not, our verb or auxiliary verb, and then the main verb forget. Same with the other sentences. You mustn't disturb him. You must not disturb him. Students must not be late. Very good, everyone. Now, let's discuss the use of must not. Must not expresses prohibition, something that is not permitted, not allowed. Prohibition can be subjective, the speaker's opinion, or objective, a real law or rule. Look at these examples. I mustn't eat so much sugar. I must not eat so much sugar. This is a subjective idea or thought. Why? Because it's the speaker's opinion about what he or she must do or must not do. Another one. You mustn't watch so much television. You mustn't watch so much television. Again, this is another subjective thought. Why? Because the speaker is saying about his opinion. This is the speaker's opinion. So, of course, this is subjective. Next, students must not leave bicycles here. Students must not leave bicycles here. Of course, this is an objective. This is a real law or rule that is followed by everyone. Let's say in the school, because the subject is students, okay? So this is a real law or rule in the school. Next, policemen must not drink on duty. Policemen must not drink on duty. Here, this is an objective thought. Why? This is another real law or rule. We're talking about policemen. And policemen are public property. They are public figures. And this is a real law about them. Now, let's have some examples. First with must not. Mustn't, must not. I mustn't do something. That means it is necessary not to do it. It is the wrong thing to do. Okay? Again, I must not or mustn't. That means it is important not to do something or it is the wrong thing to do. Let's have some examples. I must hurry. I mustn't be late. I must hurry. I mustn't be late. I must hurry. We use the word must here. So that means this action or this is very, very important. To hurry, that means, or to hurry is something important or necessary for the subject to do. I mustn't be late. Here, the speaker is saying that it is the wrong thing to do and it's important not to be late. Next, I mustn't forget to phone Jane. I must not forget to phone Jane. That means I must remember to phone her. I must remember to phone her. Next, be happy. You mustn't be sad. Be happy. You mustn't be sad. That means don't be sad. Next, you mustn't touch the pictures. You mustn't touch the pictures. That means you should not touch the pictures. It is the wrong thing to do. Okay? Now we have another expression here. Don't need to. Now, I don't need to do something. That means it is not necessary. Again, I don't need to do something. That means it is not necessary for the subject to do something. Let's have some examples. I don't need to go yet. I don't need to go yet. I can stay a little longer. I don't need to go yet. That means it is not necessary for the subject to go yet. So it is also the same with must or mustn't, but this is not as strong as mustn't or must, okay? You don't need to shout. I can hear you, okay? You don't need to shout. I can hear you, okay? So that means the subject doesn't need to shout. It is not necessary for the subject to shout. You can also say don't have to. For example, I don't have to go yet. I can stay a little longer. I don't have to go yet. I can stay a little longer. So it has the same meaning or same thought with don't need to. And of course, they also have the same thought with must or mustn't, but it is not as strong as those words, okay? Now let's compare don't need to and must not. Let's read the examples. You don't need to go. You can stay here if you want. You don't need to go. You can stay here if you want. You mustn't go. You must stay here. You must not go. You must stay here. So, let's compare. The second sentence is stronger than the first sentence. It says here that the subject must not go. That means it's important and it's a direction or an order for the subject to do. Okay? So the subject doesn't have a choice but to follow that. But on the other hand, the first sentence, it is not as strong as must not. Okay, that means the speaker or the subject, okay, the subject was given choice. If the subject wants to go, he can go, but if he wants to stay, he can stay. Okay? So, now students, I want you to review this lesson and remember all the important information about must not and don't need to. Also, don't have to. You have to be really careful using these words, but they are very helpful, right? Now, I would also want to encourage you to enroll in camglish.com's classes because we can definitely help you improve your English skills. Now, this is the end of our lesson. I hope you learned something. This is Teacher Jen from camglish.com saying goodbye and see you on our next video. Goodbye!